Irish English. So I speak Irish English, which can often be a very fast version of English. They say in Ireland, two people are talking. How do you know who the listener is? And the answer is the first to take a breath. That's how you know who's listening. So if at any point in this session I speak too fast or it's not clear, please slow me down. I'm often getting feedback on that area. So please don't be afraid to just give me a signal to slow down. The other ask is, let's make this a conversation. I want to share with you just some of my recent research. I've just been awarded my doctorate as of 3-4 weeks ago. And I want to share with you some of the research I've done. I know many of us are experienced team coaches, some less so. So it's just a piece of research, and I'd love it to be a conversation. So my plan is to make lots of time for questions either through chat, or if you want to raise your hand, we'll get you unmuted and let you join the conversation. But for me, it's a discussion today as opposed to listening to me. Okay, so let's get going. So my topic for today, when Rachel kindly invited me, and many thanks again, asked me to pick a topic, I guess I want to speak to you about my research. And my research was, how does team coaching contribute to team effectiveness? I'll tell you a bit more about that in a second. But I also want to say namaskara to you, to this chapter, for inviting me, and also our colleagues I hear from Delhi and from Mumbai and all across India. To my great shame, I've only ever been to Chennai and Pune, so I've only tasted a tiny part of all of India's beauty and diversity. So be patient with me, but I will be coming again, because they were very rich experiences. And what I was left with most from both those experiences was the appetite for learning. I saw a level of desire to learn that I don't see in my own country. Maybe it's taken for granted. Maybe it's seen as entitlement. But what really struck me in my 2 visits to India was people really stretching themselves and also investing their time to really learn. So it's an honor to be part of your journey to learn as well. Rachel's already done all this great work in telling you my background. Still learning. So it is never a finished journey. I'm proud of where I've got to, but also a recognition of learning all the time and changing how I team coach, changing how I work with teams. It's an ongoing navigation. One thing I have noticed, and I don't know if it's true for you, is in the last few years, it felt like I had to do a lot of selling of team coaching as a concept. I had to sell it and I had to sell me. Now I'm finding, maybe as I gain more experience, less me, but also less team coaching. I've noticed in Ireland anyway, in these last 6 months, organizations wanting to talk much more quickly about team coaching. I don't know if that's how others are experiencing it in your area. I wonder sometimes if COVID is one of those reasons. Maybe it's only a hypothesis. People I hear really teamed well during COVID. It was a crisis. Leadership teams had to figure things out. How were they going to work virtually, or how to deal with the challenges of supply chain? And they really worked. And I wonder if they see less of that now, and they're wanting to know how to get back to that collective high performance. It could also be a fact that people now have a chance to catch breath after these last few years, and team coaching, for me anyway, is becoming more of a normal part of the conversation I'm having with leaders. So I think we've been through all of this in terms of my background, and thank you, Rachel, again for going through that. My agenda for today. So I'm hoping to leave lots of time for questions and discussion. I want to share with you the motivation for why I was asking that question. How does team coaching contribute to team effectiveness? I want to do a bit of defining with your help of team coaching and team effectiveness. I want to share with you 4 of the key insights from my research. And then I want to make sure we wrap it back to the ICF team coaching competencies, just so we speak to that framework as well. If at any time, again, you want to pause me to slow down or ask a question, raise your hand or just jump in. I'm very flexible. So about 7 years ago, I started on the journey of doing a doctorate. And I wanted to share with you some of my reasons for doing it. So go back 8 or 9 years ago, 2013, 2014, I'm curious about this thing called team coaching. And a question that was arising for me, but also for companies I was talking to was, does team coaching work? And what do we even mean by work? Are people happy at the end of the day? Are they more effective? Is there more awareness? What does working mean? And so I had that doubt. So does it work? Does it make a difference? One-to-one coaching, I felt much more confident that the research and the background was there. It was helping people. Team coaching, I wasn't sure. And I couldn't find anything to help me with the answer. And not only does it work, but then I was wondering, well, how does it work? And where? What types of teams? What I could find was a lot of literature about leadership teams. But what about a project team? What about an operational team? There's many other types, but where does it work and how? And what was also on my mind was, how do I bring some scholarship to my practice? I've been on one-to-one coaching programs. I have graduate degrees in coaching. Team coaching, it felt like it was a bit of facilitation, a bit of my experience, and I wanted to bring some rigor to make sure I wasn't just doing things, but I knew why I was doing them and what the impact was going to be. There was also at the same time this growth in team coaching in terms of demand, which was definitely slower where I am based in Ireland, but supply, GTCI was mentioned. There's many team coaching programs out there. It's definitely a growing area that we see from various surveys like CoachSource. And also the professional bodies, ICF, EMCC, AC, in the last few years have produced competencies or standards and are offering accreditation for training providers and for individuals. So this thing called team coaching was building. And I guess when I did look at the literature, there was very much a call. Jones et al. Said there's a need for more research to explain, but also evaluate its contribution. Music to my ears. Okay, so my research topic was going to be a value add. There's sparse literature and scholarship, Clutterbuck and others, saying we have a lot of practitioner books and a lot of practitioner case studies, but where's the research behind it, where there's maybe more rigor and it's peer-reviewed? And at the same time, the recognition that teams are the basic building blocks of organizations because they can do more with less, because they flatten out organizations, because very few of us can do a job where we have all the answers. So that was some of my motivations. Let me just stop there and just check out with you all. What are you making of this? Do you get these questions? Does it work? Or is that something you've resolved? Are you seeing a growth in demand of team coaching? Do you have access to research that gives you some confidence about this area? Let's open it up. Feel free to unmute and share your thoughts. Where would you locate team coaching in your world right now?
I can start with comment from. Hi, Dr. Colm. Hi, this is Kulshum. So I work in a
Sorry, I may have pressed the wrong button there. My apologies.
I guess, yes.
My apologies.
No worries. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yeah, thank you very much.
So team coaching in my organization. So I work in a private organization. It's a consulting firm of close to 10,000 people. And we do have a team of coaches here. So one of the focus that we are looking at this point of time, especially for quarter two, is getting into team coaching. And I'm part of one of the core team that is kind of reading about it and trying to identify how we can pitch this to the business, because at this point of time we are doing one-on-one coaching, but we do understand that when we start doing coaching as a team, there would be more effectiveness in terms of the team working, in the team working together in a much better way. However, since most of us have limited knowledge there, uh, it gets a little tricky how we as coaches can prep ourselves in terms of team coaching, because the dynamics are I can say, if I can say, it is extremely dynamic, and we need to watch out for a lot of nuances. So just thinking through how we can take this forward, because a team usually consists of easily 12 to more than 20 plus number here, and how we can cater to that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Can I ask you one other question? How would the business benefit if teams were more effective? You said that that's driving a part of this interest in team coaching. What would be the benefit for the organization if teams were more effective?
Definitely the performance is going to improve. Instead of individuals performing, the team's performance is going to scale up. Because one of the strongest points that we've heard or understood so far is the lack of trust, lack of communication. So definitely, if that is, if we are able to work with them on those areas as a team, then probably we would be able to create that platform for them where they can reach out to their leaders and take it forward. So that is one thing that we are looking at, because that's really, now that we are all in a hybrid working mode, this seems to be an important topic that we need to take forward.
The communication part. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yes, I thank you so much. Put your hand up there. Grandma, how are you? Thank you for jumping in. What would you like to share about where you see team coaching in your practice or your world?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Oh, I have coached both individuals and teams, and are doing them. I generally was of the, maybe I'm wrong in my belief, that coaching senior leaders helps in transformational changes for the organization, because a small change in the leader brings a lot more impact. Now, team coaching so far, very little that I have done. I see improvement in productivity 1.x times the team's performance, but does it trigger an impactful transformational organizational change is a question I had for you. Are you expecting that from team coaching?
What about for you? Are you what are
Yeah,
your thoughts?
somehow I did not expect that, because I thought in the context of having a powerful leader in the team, invariably, at least the teams which I have seen, some of them in India, both in the government service, I was for 22 years in the Indian Railways. It's so difficult for the teams to shed their snake skin about being followers and not leaders. So that was a struggle I had.
Okay, very interesting. And just to answer that question, I think team coaching has the capability, and one of the challenges that Peter Hawkins is asking of me and others is, how do we get beyond just one team at a time? How do we be systemic and think about working with multiple teams in the same organization? And to your point, I'm working with a team that runs the port here in Dublin, and their history has always been the CEO was the boss. He spoke to them individually. They met to look at operational, but he made all the decisions. And now we've got a new CEO who wants there to be collective leadership. And that's very uncomfortable for some of these senior leaders. They've been used to working in a silo. But I believe as team coach, we can help them break the silos down at their level so that they can start breaking the silos down at the levels below them. So I think if team coaching is going to actually gain traction, I think it needs to be more than just about the one team. I think it needs that organizational impact. and helping teams think that way is useful as well. Great. Thank you for your input and your experience. What else? I'm just looking at our chat. So Shanti talking about, Shanti, would you like to unmute and maybe share that with us as opposed to me reading it? What
Sure,
would
I can share that, Colm. So I recently got engaged as a team coach with an organization. I'm not a certified team coach, but I
Shati, we can't hear you very clearly. Maybe you might want to up the volume.
Is this better?
tiny bit, yeah. It's still,
Sorry, I think I had my mic up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was recently engaged with a tech firm, and the ad that solicited nominations for being a coach said agile coach / team coach. I'm not a certified team coach, and I was wondering, can I even apply? So I've been doing a lot of reading up. I'm seeing some overlap. Would love to hear if there is a difference and what is the difference.
and I may want to bow to any agile. I'm not an agile coach myself. I think there is a difference. They may share some practices, but I think they're fundamentally different. I don't know. Does anybody else want to answer that question? Do you see a difference between being an agile coach and a team coach? For me, agile is a methodology around project management that does involve some team processes, but the focus is on the project, as opposed to with team coaching, my focus is on the team and beyond. So that's interesting.
So if I may butt in here on this one, Shanti, so there is a lot of confusion in the Indian market, if I may say, around, a lot of times people come and ask me, do you know agile? And I'm like, no, I do team coaching, and that's not the same as agile. And very happy, as you said, Dr. Murphy, agile is the methodology, but in team, the team is what we are focusing on, and the interconnectedness between the team and the systems. Yeah, so I don't know.
This is Kiran here. I can also jump in as I'm working as an agile coach with a consulting organization. Yeah, there is some amount of overlapping, and of course, agile is on the ways of working and culture, and particularly in terms of the delivery, it has an impact. However, while focusing on the process part of it, there is also people part of it, wherein which I, as a coach, if I have that inbuilt skills as a team coach, I can effectively bring it in agile ways of working, because ultimately in agile ways of working, we give a lot of importance to the flat structure and self-organization capabilities within the teams. Hence, I see a lot of overlapping here, excluding the part on the process side, but otherwise,
that's
I
what
can
even
put in,
I'm learning.
Yes, team culture, I can put it as a sub-part of overall agile coach, team coach being a sub-part of overall agile coach. If you want to be an agile coach, need to be a team coach, but team coach need not be an agile coach. That's how I see it.
So the Venn diagram doesn't fully.
Yes.
I see. Thank you, Kiran. I see Rani very patient holding her hand up. Rani, what would you like to add or contribute to this comment?
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. I really would like to add, but I have a query, and I'm going back to it was nice to hear that you're from Deloitte, Ireland, because I was in Deloitte, India. And I was a chief learning officer in the partner matters office for the partners. And one of the methodologies that we would use for the partners, very short programs, which were more into skill development, business skills. And these were done through facilitation, a lot of actual role plays, and creating scenarios and conducting it in smaller groups, which were very effective. So whilst I'm listening to you, because I'm completely new to team coaching, and very candidly, I'm admitting to say that I've not done any reading, but I'm curious to know about it. So I would like to, and in the coaching, we say that it is about changing the behavior and a consistent behavior change. So how does one bring in the element of change in behavior into this particular methodology of program, or where it is a business skill development? And that is a curiosity I have, Dr. Murphy.
Thank you, Rani. And you provide a wonderful link for me to my next slide. So let's see if I can address some of what you're asking, because I want to share with you some definitions, and I will come back and thank you all. So before I get to Rani's question, just think about what we just heard. There's an interest internally as internal coaches. How do we start doing the work with teams? Because the organization would like teams to be more effective and to communicate better, especially when working hybrid. We're also hearing that transformation is on the agenda, and we can create transformation through coaching the leader. But think about all of the benefit we get if we could coach the leadership team and the teams around them. It's almost like there's a wider scope here of what's possible. And then we're also hearing the market asking for agile and team coaching, maybe not being clear how they're different, but something about, again, teams, changing behaviors, and I guess with agile comes adaptability. So how do we help teams grow but be adaptable as the market changes, supply chain challenges happen, talent problems, working remotely? There's lots of change in the air. So all of these things are leading to us thinking about team coaching. And maybe it's the wrong phrase. I haven't come up with a better way of describing what I do. When you say team coaching, some people go, but coaching is one-to-one. Do you mean coaching each of the members of the team? That could be a part of it. But what we're really talking about is as follows. So David Clutterbuck will talk about helping the team improve its performance. Now, as a coach, we'd like to understand what do they mean by that, but not just the performance, but the processes by which performance is achieved. Group dynamics, communication, psychological safety, confidence. They are all things that would influence how the team is performing. And how does David suggest we do that? Through reflection and dialogue. So again, we're not trying to do things to them. Just like in one-to-one coaching, we're not trying to be the expert. We're helping the team have this conversation. And it's a very simple definition, but powerful, because so many teams I meet, they never stop and pause. There's always the next thing, the next task. And I even experienced this morning, I'm part of a team that are being team coached. We're the operations team of GTCI, and we've invited some team coaches to work with us. And we're only beginning, but having the space to talk about things and breathe. Usually when we meet, it's go through all the actions. So we're encouraging the team to figure out these answers by helping them pause and reflect. And what I often hear is, like in one-to-one coaching, it's gaining clarity. Why are we a team? What type of team do we want to be? Who are our stakeholders? What are we not talking about? What's working for us? What isn't working for us? What does leadership mean? What happens when the boss isn't in the room? Do we still exist as a team? All of these are really good areas for discussion. ICF, talk about it's a partnering. So again, a reflective process with a team and looking again at those processes, dynamics, relationships, to inspire them to maximize their ability. So again, something about common purpose, shared goals. So we see performance, is not just based on doing, there's dynamics, there's relationships, and we're seeing reflectivity as part of what we're inviting the teams to do, which is very disruptive in many cases. Getting teams to slow down and talk to each other differently can be very disruptive when the norm is to keep going faster. And then EMCC, a similar idea, a series of conversations, raising individual and collective reflection and awareness, helping the team challenge their thinking and enabling the team to be sustainable. So again, I hope you're seeing some of the threads here. There's conversations, there's relationships with helping the team have a different conversation. There's something about helping them with performance, but all of the factors that influence performance. So let me do a quick exercise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get you into a breakout room, and I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and in your breakout room, I'm going to ask you to come up with as many English 3-letter body parts as you can think of, and please be polite if that's possible. Okay, so let me just stop sharing. So I am going to go to breakout rooms, and you'll get a quick invite to accept, and I'm going to create those breakout rooms now. Oops, let me recreate that. That didn't work very well. So I want to create, oh, let me think. Okay, going to put you into a breakout room, let you accept the invitation, and then I'll give you 2 minutes in your breakout room to come up with as many body parts made up of a three-word English word. Hopefully you're all getting to accept that. Just a few more people. You should be getting an invite. I might just pause the record. Welcome back. I apologize. That's a very sharp guillotine that throws you out of your room as you are busy working away. So I know you want some answers. I'll give you an answer in a second. But what I'd love you to do in the chat function is, how would you describe the group process in that room? What did you notice about working with these 3 or 4 other people? If you'd like to put something into chat, what were your observations in having to work as a group?
I would say there was a lot of interdependence there.
A lot of interdependence, okay, which is a key thing that we're looking for when it comes to teams, interdependency. I work with lots of teams who behave like groups, silos, and it's trying to help them realize, what do we need to do together? We can't do apart, interdependency. And lots of things coming in. There's friendly humor, appreciation of a new find, lovely, was accepting, offering to do, somebody offered to write, somebody offered to lead, collaboration, initial silence and everyone contributed, fun, working towards the same goal, interesting. Okay, openness. Can I call my daughter and get some ideas? Thanks. That's asking, yeah, why just be bounded by that team? We had a common goal. Okay. So we're getting, I mean, again, go back to our clients. What would they be saying about their teams? Fun? Maybe, maybe not. Common goal? Some might, some mightn't, or there might be an assumption. Collaboration, don't always hear that among my clients between in teams and around teams. Innovation, don't always hear that. Openness, don't always experience that. So we have all of these factors that lead us to be able to perform well as a team. And again, performing well as a team is about creating value, not just for the team, but for all its stakeholders. Out of interest, how many different words did you come up with? 3, 10, 7. Okay, 7.
12.
Okay. 12. Very good. Okay, so let me read out what I have. I have 10, but I'm open to more. I had eye, hip, arm, leg, ear, toe, jaw, rib, lip, and gum. What did I miss?
We missed gum.
Yeah, we missed
Our
gum
group
too.
missed gum.
Gut and arm.
Gut is the
Arm
new
to
one.
be had.
Gut. Oh, so an 11th one is the gut. Yeah, excellent.
Gut,
Yeah.
yes. 12th one, I think. The gut is the 12th one.
Abs. Lovely. So
Abs.
here we come with 10 answers. And actually, as a team, a group of people, we've created 12 answers. We need to go back
13
and
now, actually.
13.
There's one more.
So
One.
abs, gut, and
Rib.
rib.
Rib was
I
counted,
had.
yeah.
So anyway, we're doing well. So here's a question. If I was to come and work with you in your small group as a team coach, what value could I bring? Imagine you weren't just coming up with English words. Imagine you're that team that has to perform day in, every week, every month. What value could I bring as a team coach? I could work with you all separately. There's value in that, we know, from one-to-one coaching. What would be the value out of a team coach if I was in your breakout room?
Guess play more of a facilitator role there to see bring people together and start or just nudge them a bit to start collaborating.
Okay, so I could facilitate, I could nudge. I'm also seeing on chat.
Motivate to collaborate.
I could challenge. Sudashan talks about pushing further, asking what else. So I could challenge the team. I could be a navigator. Pradeep talks about being a navigator, maybe helping them ask the question, where are you heading towards? Where is the end goal here? Help me to leverage support from others. Help reflections. I mean, I gave you a very short 2 minutes, but it's amazing how we dive into the task and don't always get a chance to ask, is this working? Is this what we want to do?
If you were part of the group, Dr. Murphy, you would have helped us understand the purpose behind this whole exercise.
Okay, yes. Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, is there a purpose? Yeah. Building awareness. So helping in building deeper connections. So I think this is some of what we have to offer teams. Again, go back to your clients. Might they be interested in having a better navigation for themselves of why they're going there? What's their purpose? Would they benefit from having deeper connections with each other? Would they benefit as a team being more aware collectively and individually? Would they benefit from being pushed? I think letting us, Swati talk about letting us rise above our limitations, if they even are limitations, or even thinking of what our strengths are. What did we do really well and how do we use those for the next exercise? Thinking differently comes up. So I think these are all the offerings that we can make as a team coach. And again, so little of this is ever done. In my experience, we invest in the individual. They go off on the training program. And teams get so little investment, and yet that's where a lot of the key work in our organizations is required. So as we talk, I'm struck by there is no one version of team coaching. So Peter Hawkins will talk about it's a continuum. Sometimes I am just facilitating. I'm focusing on the process. But other times I might be in the middle, really helping this leadership team talk about being shared leaders. So it's not just the boss who's the leader. How can we lead collectively? Or back to over to the far side, it might be the challenge is, how can this team be truly transformational? So they're not just changing how they work, they're changing the relationships across the whole system. So it's never one thing. It's almost like an umbrella term. And part of my work is to figure out where do they want to go and how do I help them go there. Some of my clients don't ever want to go beyond team facilitation, and that's okay. If I can meet them there and be of service, that's good. But maybe others do want to do something differently and look to maybe, engage better with their stakeholders or work, transform the organization or even the ecosystem around them. So they're all possibilities, and no one size fits all. So going back to my research for a second, I was curious, does this thing called team coaching, reflection, focus on performance, helping the team have conversations, using this continuum, does it make a difference? And I guess part of the challenge is, well, how do I measure difference? And what I took as a way of defining difference was taking the work of team effectiveness. This is a field which is full of research, hundreds of models, thousands of papers. And so I have team coaching where there's very little research, and I have team effectiveness where there's lots. And again, maybe it's different than one-to-one. If you said to me, how would you measure one-to-one effectiveness of team of coaching? There's no one definition of leadership. Leadership isn't always the agenda of one-to-one coaching. It could be career change, it could be work-life balance. But with team coaching, there is something about whatever we're doing, we are trying to make the team more effective. And what do I mean by effective? Well, Hackman and Wagman talk about defining effectiveness as, does the outputs of the team meet or exceed the expectation of the stakeholders? Even that's a useful conversation. Does the team know who their stakeholders are? Do they agree? I'll come with you in a second. I see your hand up there. They also talk about effective teams don't just get outputs, but they are also viable to keep performing. So think of a good IPL team that keeps winning year after year. Or you think of the great Indian cricket teams. They didn't just win a test match or a test series. They're able to win again and again because there's a connection. They see each other. They work well as a team. And thirdly, not only do we produce the outputs and we keep going, but it's also helping each person learn and be well. Because you could achieve one of those and not the other two. We could achieve the target goals and never be able to work as a team together. And I could have learned nothing, or my well-being suffers. So it's a balancing act that we have to manage. I see some hands. Do you want to take any questions? So who has their hand up as a question for me?
Yeah, I did have a question, Dr. Murphy, if I may.
Yes.
So I am curious about, you mentioned that some clients may not want to get into team coaching. So, in your experience, what is it that you're learning? Why someone may not be keen, or because there seem to be benefits all around. So why would someone not want to get into it, as you've seen?
Yes, I would call out. I had a very interesting conversation with a CEO of a large hotel group on Thursday. And he's the new CEO, about a year. He has a new team. He knows the team. He kept on telling me it's a good team. We're not to be fixed, but we can do better, and we need to do better because he wants to double the revenue of the organization. But his big worry was, you're not going to make things worse, are you? So I think one of the reasons that team coaching isn't always appealing is because it creates anxiety. It can create anxiety for the leader, and it can create anxiety for the team members, and it can create a lot of anxiety for the team coach. One thing I noticed about team coaching training is how anxious the participants are. And where's that anxiety coming from? It's coming because there's multiple relationships. There's an audience. It's the whole team. So anxiety is a reason teams don't want to go here. I think the other thing is, how secure is the leader? If the leader is open to the idea that they will also be getting feedback, that they are not perfect, that the team is more important than their ego, I think they're more likely to be interested in team coaching. If the leader is worried about how they are seen, about the perception of them if the team isn't doing well, if they think that their finished article and the team is imperfect, I think that's a reason why people don't go there. Alok, has that helped? Or do you?
Sure, yeah, that's helpful, and I can relate to that. So I do have a follow-up question, but let me put that in the chat, and as it comes up, you could perhaps respond to that. Thank you.
I see one of our colleagues wants to jump. Yes, jump in there. Yeah.
How do we measure performance and reward the team? See, the traditional practice, I have been a CX all my life, not all my life, many years of my life. Growth, promotions, reward, recognitions, opportunities go to talented, performing high performers. It doesn't go to high performing teams. So if I'm a high performer, am I demotivated to be seen as a part of a team? Because I would have got my rewards way better as an individual. And that's how organizations recognize. They recognize individuals and not teams. So what are the trick which I'm missing here?
I don't think you're missing a trick. I think there's a risk that we talk teams and we reward individuals. So there's a
yeah.
Let me so and it's a hard one to figure out, but then let me ask all of us, think of our most proud successes, things you're most proud about in your corporate life. Did you do them on your own? Or was there other people involved? And there may be differences, but many of us, our great successes, while individual, have been when we have been in a team. And there's something about that connectivity as human beings that we really value. So there is a paradox here that We promote individual recognition and reward. It is changing slowly. I see some of the tech companies now trying to actually reward team performance as a part of the remuneration package. But for many of us, the really highlights in our career have not been when we've been going solo. It's been when we've been part of something bigger. And I may have got the benefits individually, but the team was also beneficial. So again, maybe I'm an Irish person. What do I know about cricket? I love it, but we're not a great team. But even if I join an IPL team, Chennai Kings or whatever else, can I do well and the team does well? Yeah. I mean, can I do well and the team does badly? Possibly, but if you're asking the great Indian cricket players what their memories are, it may be their centuries or their bowling figures, but it's probably winning a test series. It's going to Australia and beating Australia or going to England. So I think organizations, we probably do over index on the individual, but there's something about that team performance. Nazarius, my apologies for pronouncing your name.
That's right. Wow, that's right.
You'd like to jump in?
I just wanted to share that I'm from advertising, right? For the longest time, they'd always ask the idea, they were in pursuit of whose idea was it? Because I'm from the creative side. You see, and you know what, much later in my life, it was never from one person. You never know, you did not know which one triggered what, and we could never. So White & Kennedy, who was some of the most biggest award-winning agency of Nike commercials, had this concept of a team. They would hire a team which consisted of a chef, a bullfighter, a fashion designer, and probably a writer or something. And the team would come up with an idea, and it would be given credit totally. And it was never an individual. Because we knew what.
Yes. So we have it in our capability to change this way of measuring things. I think even of, school in Ireland, if you're collaborating, it's called cheating in school. Why aren't we teaching more teamwork? I don't have to have the answer anymore. How do I have the social skills to get the answer for someone else? Like you did with the body parts. How many would you have got if you were on your own? Maybe 10. Would you have got 13? I mean, I didn't. I went and Googled and got 10. So again, how do we reward that? I wasn't cheating. I was starting something here. So an interesting conversation for us. So we've talked about team effectiveness. We've talked about why don't teams want team coaching? I think it can be anxious. The leader may be anxious. I think we do face a battle that individuals are rewarded, pay and promotion, and yet we achieve, in any of our clients, how much can they achieve through one individual? Teams are the only really possible way of working in a global environment. So let me jump ahead. I'm conscious I've got about 15 minutes left. I'm loving our conversation. I just want to share with you selfishly some of my research to see what you make of it. So how did I design this research? So I worked with one organization. So my research is not claiming this is true for every team in the world. It couldn't be. But it was a financial services organization, and I recruited a management team, an operations team, and a project team in that function. Again, there is research on leadership teams. I wanted to see, does team coaching work in other types of teams? There was 2 team coaches at all times. Why 2? Good practice, especially when you're working with teams of 5 or more. It's very hard to see and hear everything. And there's also a part that when we're working in pairs, we're role modeling teaming. Now, for many of us as coaches, that's quite unusual. We're used to doing this work on our own. I just think there's real value and personal development in working in pairs. So we were 2 team coaches, both of us researchers. I used a process called action research, which we did through the team coaching sessions. There were ethical challenges, as there are with any team coaching. Everybody had the right not to participate, and also confidentiality. So even let's talk about that one. In one-to-one coaching, it's very easy for me to say, Rachel is my client, I'm the coach. Rachel, everything is between you and me. It's confidential. But if I'm working with all of you as a team, can I give each of you one-to-one confidentiality? because maybe Johnny tells me something about how he sees this team, or even that he's leaving, and I've already agreed confidentiality with him, so I can't share it with the team. So I become almost a blocker to the conversation. So one way I do that is, again, contracting. I'll talk about confidentiality outside of the team, anonymity within the team. So I won't say, well, Johnny thinks this. I'll say somebody, or actually encourage Johnny to have that conversation. But again, we have to do things a bit differently to help the team have the conversation. And what I was trying to do was, I was trying to measure team effectiveness through 3 sources. The team members being interviewed by me, the completion of the team diagnostic survey by Hackman and Wagaman, which is a well-researched team effectiveness survey tool. And the third was the interviewing of team stakeholders to ask them, is this team more effective or not? It's not perfect, it's just research, but it began the conversation. So what did they experience? So just in terms of team coaching, they experienced 9 team coaching sessions, everything from 1 hour to 6 hours over 6 months. So each team got 22 hours. Every team was different, but we made sure that if we were doing a 2-hour session in March, each of the 3 teams got a 2-hour session. So it was consistent timing, but the content was different. And before the team coaching started and at the end, we gathered data through one-to-one interviews, the team effectiveness survey, and the stakeholders. So we took a photograph of each team in January and another in July for the team members, and January the following year from the stakeholders. So let me just share with you what I found, and then I'll try and make some time for questions. So there was 4 key findings for me, which are all contributions to our knowledge of team coaching. The first one, when I asked the team members and the stakeholders, are your teams more effective because of team coaching? I got a yes. That's good news. Okay. Then I asked, well, how is it more effective? Both the team member, well, all of the team members from 3 teams spoke about, yes, we're more effective, we're more productive. But the key theme was, we have a better relationship with each other. 2 of these teams described themselves as poisonous, as a horrible culture before we started the team coaching. And by the end of it, they're describing themselves as having much better intra-team relationships. But what was really interesting for me, at the beginning of the team coaching, the stakeholders said, the teams are okay. What we want is better tasks, quicker, better quality, service lines agreements, task. When I spoke to them after the team coaching and said, are these teams more effective? Yes. How do you know? The stakeholders all spoke about the relationship with the team. They had changed their measure of success. So one of my findings was that team coaching influenced not just the quality of the intra-team relationship, but also the team and stakeholder relationship. And by extension, that was changing how the stakeholders perceive the effectiveness of the team. So there's a relationship part to what we're doing as team coaches. My next finding was, when I was looking at the experiences of the 3 teams, I found that the teams, when they started team coaching, went through a cycle called team adaptation. So let me just show you what that looks like. So team adaptation comes from team effectiveness. So there's another link. And what it says is, when a team is triggered by some cue from the external world, what the team does is it does an assessment of the change. It could be a new stakeholder, it could be a new competitor, it could be a new supply chain. They assess, they then plan, create a plan, and then they execute. I was finding that was happening in the team coaching also, but not always. And sometimes one team started and the other teams didn't start doing any work. And so what I found was, actually team coaching is itself a trigger to a team. So again, we asked the question, why won't teams do team coaching? It's anxious, but when we do start, it triggers something. They get feedback, they start having conversations. So team coaching is another way of describing it as team adaptation. This might be more interesting to your clients. They may not want team coaching, but if you asked, would you like your teams to be more adaptable? Would you like your teams to learn how to adapt? Well, here's a process called team coaching, which does that. Because when we meet them and we gather data and share it back with the teams, both from themselves and the stakeholders, that is triggering a change which they assess. But then what I found was one of the teams went on and created a plan and executed, the other two couldn't. And what I noticed was if there wasn't enough psychological safety, teams don't make that next step. So sometimes part of our work as team coaches is to help build enough psychological safety within the team to help them be brave enough to make that next step. What do I mean by psychological safety? What does that mean to anybody on this call? How would you know if a team is psychologically safe or not?
Conflicts are is easily visible and they talk about it openly and resolve it.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Yes, open. Yeah, it's available. Yeah. I see two more hands. Yeah. Nazarius, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah,
How would you?
When I feel secure, when I trust.
Okay. Yeah. And feel is important, right? Psychological safety. We can feel it. Have you ever been in a meeting where you felt, don't speak up, don't make a mistake? Maharajan, my apologies for destroying your name.
Team should feel at home, or they should feel connected. They should not feel disconnected. Sometimes what happens due to one or other reasons, you are the only one maybe in the team. You will feel sometimes outcast, outward. What I mean, you understand?
Yeah.
Due to various geographical locations, due to language also, because local language impacts.
Yes,
And
local language.
nobody can ignore that.
Yeah.
So how to form the team before the team coaching, that's more important than other factors.
Yes. Okay. So this is ongoing again. You don't just build psychological safety, it moves around, but it comes from, if we do a good job in that team coaching space, what I found was the final piece of my contribution was this idea of a team coaching working alliance. We talk about working alliance between a coach and coachee, but as a team coach, how do I build that connection with each of the team members and help the team start building it between each other as well? So that there's just enough psychological safety, and it's never a one-off thing. It's always moving. And I think part of our role as team coaches is to role model. And it could be as simple as me knowing everybody's names, or noticing that Sunil speaks and gets interrupted. So making space, say, no, let's not interrupt Sunil. Let's hear them speak, or noticing things, or being brave. But part of our job as team coaches to help them become more effective is role modeling, listening, asking questions of each other, being present. I see lots of hands up. I see lots of chat, but I'm also conscious of I have just hit the last minute of my time. Rachel, what would you like to do? What's a good place for us to end on? Is there anything you'd like me to do in a last minute or so, or is this a good place for us to end? Or
so I think we, maybe we could just check in with the audience. I mean, are you guys, Dr. Murphy, would you be comfortable continuing if you would like to?
Yes, I've probably got another 5 minutes, if that's okay, and then I'll have to jump off. But yeah, so let me just stop there. A lot of things from me. Nikhil, I see your hand there. Let me come to you. Would you like to make a contribution?
Yeah, it was really on the previous question about psychological safety.
Yeah.
So really from my experience, once the team became a little more trusting of each other, they would get into no-go areas. There were plenty of those dyadic relationships or offline conflicts, or more than conflicts, they used to be hidden. In the sense they were not, they were kind of latent, hidden conflicts. They began to come out because that's what was encouraged. If you have any issue, you'd like to bring it to the table. So that's what I saw as psychological safety, because they knew it's going to be within the team. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's always those tests of them. Thank you so much. Because when they are brought up, how are they handled? Does the leader shut them down? Does the team coach shut them down? But people are always testing to see what can be shared. I know some people have to jump off. I guess if I could say a last few words, I would just encourage you to keep exploring your journey as a team coach. For me, there's a fascinating contribution we can make to organizations, both as an individual coach and as a team coach. And sometimes they overlap. Sometimes my team coaching also involves individually coaching the individuals. I just have to be aware of any conflicts. But I think we collectively as a team coaching community have a huge opportunity to add a very different value to organizations through the lens of teams. They are often the most memorable experiences any of us have in our careers. And yet my experience is they're often underdeveloped, or if teams are developed, it's a very simple 1 day, half a day, that's it. And how can we help teams start to have better conversations? So on that note, I just want to say thank you so much again for having me, for engaging with me. Thank you for all the questions and the inputs. I hope it's been a good use of your time. And please reach out to me on LinkedIn or by email if I can help in any way. And Rachel, again, thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. On behalf of ICF Bengaluru, I think been an extremely insightful session. And I think it's leaving, at least when I speak for myself, I think it's leaving me with a lot of things to think about, reflect on, and maybe even, put into my own team coaching practice. So, and I think I'm going to reach out to you with some questions as well. So yeah, and I know you're always very gracious with, responding back. So thank you again for your time. Thank you again for sharing your wisdom with us. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Wish you all very well. Pleasure to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nisha, for organizing.